Hello and welcome. Right, so straight down to it. What we've got here is a painting by Rene Magritte called The Large Family. And what I'm going to show you is how you can recreate something similar just using a couple of photographs in Photoshop. So in true Blue Peter style, here's one I made earlier. And this is what I'm going to have a go at recreating for you. So I'm going to go through all the steps with you of how I got to this stage. It's not the best reproduction, but I have done it reasonably quickly. So just to go back, let's go back up in history, right back to the start. So the first thing to do is to select your photographs. So what we can see here in the original painting, we've got a seascape, quite a stormy one. We've got some big waves there. We've got quite a stormy sky. But what Magritte has done is he's added this motif, this image of a bird, but it's not actually a bird. It's a bird-shaped replacement in the sky. So we've got this nice, calm, perhaps a spring day behind, lovely vanilla blue skies with fluffy cumulus clouds. But then the background, the sky beyond, the sea, is very rough and very dark and churny. So you've got all these different colours and textures going on. So what I need to recreate this is at least 3 photographs. So the photographs I've picked from my collection, I've got here a lovely cloud shot. It's not the best cloud photos I've ever taken, but it's just to give you an idea of what I need. So I've got the blue of the sky there, and I've got some fluffy clouds. I don't have a shot to hand of the small cumulus clouds. That would be a bit better to recreate this particular picture. But we're not after exact copy here, we're after my version. So what I've got here is some larger cumulus nimbus clouds. Here's my bird. Now again, it's not the most accurate in terms of a copy because you can see it's not a dove. That does to me look more like a dove. You've got the round head and the small beak here, and this is obviously a seagull, a juvenile. There's lovely grey plumage and looking rather sheepish. And he's not flying either, so he's just sat there on the quayside at Sandwich. You can see quayside homes there behind, so you can have a guess at what point of the day I took that on my way home. So there we go. So that's going to be my bird. And finally, this is the landscape I've chosen to put my bird sky on. So what I've got here, I must have that horizon line. So that dark horizon line, just like in Magritte's painting. But again, it's not the same. I've chosen a silhouette of some trees here. So I've got here the horizon, it's just a black shape and silhouette of trees against the sky. So it's different, but it's going to be similar. Okay, so it's my recreation using my own images. So first things first, I've got to get a bird shape out of the sky here. So here's my bird, and what I've got to do is create a selection around the edge so I can create my stencil. And we've got the selection tools over here. I'm going to have a go at using the quick selection tool, and you've got different options for it. You can do it one shape in one go. I'm going to keep it with the little plus icon here, so what I can do is I can draw an area over here, and I can add to it, I can build. This is a very good tool if you've got, like with this picture, a very clear difference between the background colour and the bird. If however it's a bird that's a little bit harder to see the difference between it and the background, say for instance there's a bird in flight, there's a bird in the sky, you might need to use a different tool. But I'm just going to use this one for now because it's very quick, very easy to use. And what I'm doing is I'm just drawing inside my bird and filling it out with the selection. You can see the marching out border, that moving outline is going right to the edge. Now in a moment it's going to have a bit of a problem and it's going to select more than I want. But I'm not going to panic. See, there we go. I'm not going to panic. I'm not going to undo the whole thing and start again, because the way I've got it set up, it's always going to get that bit. But I'm going to show you how you can very easily delete that. I'm going to go down to the legs. Oh, you see I've done a bit too much there, so that is going to be too much for me to clear up. So I'm going to go Edit, Undo, and I'm going to start that bit again. So what I'm going to do now, because I'm into the legs, and the legs is a much smaller bit, just do a bit more of the beak first. There we go. I'll sort the little tip of the beak out in a minute. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to zoom into his legs, and I'm going to make the brush a bit smaller. So if I make the brush probably about 18, so that way it makes the tool a little bit more precise. Now it's still not as precise enough for me as I like. You see it's getting all these extra bits that I don't want, so I'm just going to undo that and start that bit again. What you need to do is be very careful when you use it. I'm not going to get all of the legs in, because I don't need them. Because if we go back to, so that's enough for now. I'm just going to get his, his undercarriage. So it keeps on wanting to get that bit, doesn't it? There we go. I'm going to leave that for now, because I'm going to get that with another tool in a minute. Alright, so if it doesn't work out for you, switch to a different selection tool. Don't get frustrated with it. Remember, the computer's an idiot. It doesn't quite know exactly what you want. So you've got to use different tools to get the same results. I'm not too worried about getting the feet, because if we look at the large family picture, the very bottom of the bird, the tail feathers are cut off by the background. So I know I'm going to lose the feet on here. Okay, so I'm not going to go too precise with it. I do need to get this bit here. So what I'm going to do is use something called Quick Mask. So at the bottom of the tools, if you click that little bottom, it's the one underneath the colours. It's a little rectangle with a circle in it. And what it does is it shows me in red everything that is not selected. So the only bits that are currently selected are the bits that are clear, the bits where you can actually see the original picture. And while I'm in this mode, I can actually paint and use the rubber to correct my selection. So I'll go onto the rubber tool first, because I want to clear off this bit. Because poor bird, he hasn't got a bottom there at the minute. So let's give him his bottom back. There we go. Got to kind of guesstimate a little bit. I will be expecting you obviously to be spending a lot more time, a lot more care in getting rid of those bits. Just a little bit there, just in case the bottom of the legs sharpen the picture. They probably won't. So like I say, they're going to be cut off by the green of the trees. Not the green of the trees, the silhouette of the trees. Right, in here you see the bit of the Stour River that's showing through between his legs. I'm going to change from the rubber to a paintbrush. It's a nice small paintbrush, so that's 16. That's good enough. And I'm just going to manually paint it in. So it's not doing it for me. I'm having to use quite a steady hand. I'm not going to fuss too much, because remember, I'm not actually after the bird. I'm only after a bird shape. So the photograph is there as a stencil. I'm just tracing the shape of the bird. So think of this as kind of posh shaping. Yep. There we go. And go up here, sort out the beak. Now I've got to go back to the rubber tool. Definitely want his beak there nice and sharp. Not so great, but this could be a chance for you to make some changes to the shape as well. So if you want to alter the bird in any way, make it a little bit more distinctive and unique, then feel free. The bits down here, I'm just going to very quickly sort out the tail feathers. I've cropped off in the photograph, it's quite a bad photograph this, the back of his tail, so I'm just going to sort that out by taking off a bit more of the flight feathers than I should. So it's still suggestive of the bird, but bigger brush now. It's not actually the photograph that I want, it's just the shape. Get that bit there. There we go. Zoom out again. Right, so all of that just to get the tracing of the outline of the bird. To exit Quick Moss, to back into a selection, click that button there. There we go. Right, this bit's a little bit tricky. What I've got to do is get that selection, okay, just the marching ant border, not the picture. I'm not worried about the picture, just literally the tracing onto my clouds here. Okay, so one of the selection tools, the one that's just underneath the move tool here. This is where a good mouse helps you, because my mouse is a little bit worn now, and so sometimes it thinks it's clicked twice when it hasn't. And I think some of you at school might have encountered the same problem. So just be patient. If you need to undo it, undo it. Click, hold, and drag your selection. Wait till the picture changes, and then drag it back to the middle of the photograph. There we go. Okay, so you can quite clearly see that my bird's too big. So just like with any selection or any picture, what you can do is you can resize it. So to make my selection big enough for the photograph, I've got to shrink it down to Select, top menu, Transform Selection, and there you go. Can you see the outline, the border? Just like with the picture, we use the transform controls. Grab a corner and remember to hold down Shift. If you don't hold down Shift, what will happen is your selection will distort. Okay, we don't want that. We want to see a nice, clean, properly proportioned blimmin' seagull. That's what it is. I forgot what type of bird it was then for a second. There we go. So I've still got my border there, so I've got to click on the tick, or if I don't like what I've done, I want to start it again, click on that, but I like it, that's fine. There you go. There's my selection. Okay, so now I've got my selection. It's a simple case of edit, copy, go onto my background picture. Here we go. Edit, paste. There's my bird. Okay, so you look at that. Look at that. Alright, it doesn't look entirely the same, but the principle's there. So we've got a cloud bird that's a giant bird in the sky. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to position my bird perhaps about there. Now I've bothered to get the legs there. I think I'm going to leave those, and I've sorted out the tail feather a little bit so they're nice and spiky, but I think my bird should be bigger. Can you notice the little rainbow sundog there? I'm going to make my bird that size, so its eye is sort of at that level, so it looks like the rainbow's kind of coming out of his head. Don't ask, it's an artistic aesthetic choice. There we go. So I'm going to use the transform controls and holding down Shift again to make sure it doesn't distort. If I don't hold down Shift, I accidentally squish him and all this business, and I don't want that. I want him to look normal. So holding down Shift, reposition him. Yeah, that works for me. Right click the tick. Okay, so it's in the right place. Couple of other things I need to do. If you look back at the large family by Magritte, you see because the bird's in the sky, the bird is the sky. Yeah, it's behind the sea. The sea's in front. Okay, because remember the sea disappears off into the horizon and the sky is much further back. So to get that illusion, I've got to literally chop off his legs. So because I've got this particular picture with this really dark silhouetted background, I can do it quite easily by using the actual photo itself. So I'm going to make a copy of the background, right click it in the layers tab, duplicate layer, okay, and then move that copy up. So I'm creating a sandwich of background picture, bird, background picture. Okay, so my bird's still there, it's just now covered by the background. What I've got to do is get rid of this sky, so it's a copy of what's behind the bird, so I need to get rid of that. And I could use the quick selection tool again, but because it's all one color, all black, I'm going to use the magic wand tool instead. Okay, so I set the tolerance quite low. At the minute it's 10. I'm gonna when you use the magic wand tool first time, it will be 32. I'm going to see how it copes with that. There we go. That's absolutely fine. Yeah. So 32 would be fine for this type of picture. So I've got all that selected. What I need to do though is delete the sky, not the trees here. So I've got to reverse or inverse the selection. So top menu, select, inverse, there we go, and make sure the marching out borders are the right way round. Click backspace, there's my bird back. Select, deselect, there we are. Alright, so almost done. One more thing. This is a portrait orientation painting. Okay, so it's taller than it is wide, whereas this is entirely landscape. It's much wider than it is tall. So I'm just going to alter it slightly using the crop tool, just to make it connect a little bit more with Magritte's painting. It's not going to be properly portrait orientation, but it will be a little bit nicer, I think. There we go. So using the crop tool, just bring the sides in a little bit. Check how it looks. I know I've got quite a lot of black down here, but if you think about your rule of thirds, it divides up the picture plane quite nicely. Maybe this back just there we go. I think that'll do. Alright, click the tick. And there we are. Alright, now a couple of things that you might have noticed. The quality of the cloud photograph here is slightly different. Remember, I've had to stretch that. If you just zoom in, the quality is it's gone slightly grainy, and there's some errors there where perhaps I've enhanced the picture before. I actually took that photograph with my iPhone, and the background was with my proper Nikon camera. So there is going to be a bit of a mishmash of quality, but I don't think it's too bad. It does connect to Magritte's work there, alright, and there's more enhancements that I could do. So just very quickly, while there are still separate layers, if I click on the bird layer there, image, adjustments, levels, slight tweak with the levels, make the clouds a little bit more contrasty. Notice it already picks up the blue, makes the blue a lot nicer. I think just doing that has done the job. So there's a very clear distinction between the sort of dark silhouetted background and this brighter daytime sky here. So there we go, all done. Alright, thanks for watching. Enjoy making your own.